Okay.
So what words come to mind when we full non-judgment? What else? Okay. More things on the chat window. Complete awareness. Okay. Aware of thoughts and surroundings. Aware of what you're sensing and feeling. Very good. Okay. What else? Nandika, is your class saying anything? I told you to not go. Stay close, keep your chair close by, and whatever responses your class is giving, let me know. So already these folks who are online have given some really good answers. Mindfulness is being present, purposeful, non-judgment, being aware of what you're sensing. Somebody said something. Okay. Being in the here and now. Lalita said meditation. Nice. Meditation for sure. Anything else comes up to your mind?
Open heart.
Some nice words are coming. Open heart. Okay. Kindness. Kindness is mindfulness. Being with kindness, I suppose. With kindness. Okay.
Aware of body sensation something in the technical.
Staying in the present and being aware of body awareness. Okay. Present and body aware. Oh, okay. That's already been told. So body sensation awareness, being present, acknowledging one's emotions without beautiful. I'll just copy that. Okay. Okay. Being conscious of, okay, lovely. Being conscious of our reactions towards others and ourselves. That's lovely. Anything else? Ah, beautiful. Living in the present moment. Living in the moment. I think that's good. Um, you can pull a chair and sit down beside me, Nandika. I'm just going to read this out for everybody who can't see the whiteboard and those who can see. This is wonderful coming together of language for mindfulness. Right? Mindfulness is being present, purposeful, non-judgmental, aware of what you're sensing and feeling, awareness of body sensation, being with kindness, being with complete awareness, being in the present moment, living in the moment, meditation, being in the here and now, aware of thoughts and surroundings, acknowledging one's emotions, sensations without evaluating them, and being conscious of our reactions towards others and ourselves. That's really like a packed word, right? Then mindfulness. There's just so many ways to unpack the word mindfulness, and all of them are right. A small thing that I'm curious about, um, when we say mindfulness, are we saying, I'm curious. Okay, this is a question for all of you. So, this sort of being present, being purposeful, what will it give us? Like, why do I need to do this? What am I going to get from being present or aware of my sensations or thoughts or living in them? What am I going to get from it? Any thoughts on what I'm going to get from it? You can leave messages on the chat window or unmute yourself and talk to them as well. Either is fine. I can write down those answers. What am I going to get from being mindful? Well, so if I'm non-judgmental, if I'm aware of my body's sensation, so what's going to happen? What is offered for me if I'm going to do these things? Nandika, are you sitting beside me?
Yes,
Okay, we can notice patterns, we can understand ourselves better. That's beautiful. Lubanshi, thank you for those answers. Okay. So the opportunity to understand ourselves becomes more, notice becomes more. Okay, I'll write it somewhere else. I'll write it here. Okay, what else? Better relationships, more peace. Okay, beautiful. Better relationships, more peace. Living, I like that. Living righteously, Living righteously. Breaking unhealthy, beautiful. Breaking unhealthy patterns with awareness. We can reaffirm, that's beautiful. Reaffirm relationship with body. Lovely. Well said. Those are great. So we want to be mindful because it allows us the opportunity to know ourselves a little bit more, to live more peacefully, to have better relationships, to notice patterns, um, to reaffirm relationships with our bodies, to be aware of body's needs and give the attention it requires. That's lovely, you folks. Good answers are coming up. Okay. All right. So to be aware of body's needs and give it the attention it requires. This is lovely, lovely. I love how much has sort of unpacked with what mindfulness can do and what it will offer us. Now I'm curious. How do you imagine being present? Is it easy to do this? Or is just an yes or no? Is this an easy task?
no, it's not easy.
It's not easy. It's not an easy task. And yet we want to, I mean, just look at the board, right? I hope that you are able to see the board. You've written some wonderful things, and I think these are some, like globally, we all want this for ourselves, I would imagine. And yet it is so hard to achieve. Um, I'm also curious, like, what do you imagine? Like, how come it is so hard to achieve? What what takes over instead of mindfulness? In the place of mindfulness, what takes over?
So she's asking what? Why is it so hard to stay in the present and
Yeah, instead of mindfulness.
They give me a lot of answers. Just give me 1 minute. I'll type them out.
Absolutely. Good, good. I'm glad. I'm glad even online people are. Okay. Ah, I love that. Distraction, of course. Distractions. What else makes it hard? Y'all can hear me, right? Just have a eerie feeling that I'm somehow logged out or something. Okay. We've, all right, this is beautiful. We've found ways to always be distracted or occupied by external events or objects. That's lovely. Absolutely. Impatience. Impatience takes over. What else makes it hard? Mindless or mechanical schedules. Lovely. Thank you, Lubanchi. So wonderful reflections on life, really. If you all have not started feeling a sense of doom, then you're doing well. Too many thoughts in our heads, absolutely. Too many thoughts in our heads, being overthinking, overanalyzing. Many of us are sort of experts at that, no? Overthinking, overanalyzing, being judgmental. Good job. Yeah, being judgmental. We sometimes feel it's too much effort. Absolutely. It's too much effort. It takes too much time. And absolutely, Lubanche, thank you again. Mental health issues, busy schedule, absolutely. Busy schedules take us away. Carried away by material and surface thoughts, absolutely. Unhealthy relationships with our bodies, absolutely. These are brilliant answers. What takes us away? So many things takes us away. Our mental health issues, too many thoughts in our head, over analyzing, overthinking, distractions. It's just easier. It's just it, we don't have the patience for mindfulness. We're unable to think of our brilliant, yeah, unable to think of our purpose. Very well said. Those are some really good answers, folks. And this is the realities of our lives, isn't it? Just basically what you're saying is life takes over, which is why I'm not being able to be mindful. So, what is this picture we are painting of mindfulness then? Is mindfulness something that we do only up in the mountains if we are over 60 and given up on life and going in one dhoti and sitting up in the hills of the caves of Himalayan, past Himalayan masters? Is that what we're saying mindfulness is? What is the picture we're painting of mindfulness? Are we saying mindfulness cannot be done because of distractions? If I didn't have distraction, then I'd be mindful. Then why do you need mindfulness? Right? Because that's never going to happen, right? Distractions are always going to be there. Mental health issues are always going to be there. Your thoughts are always going to be there with you. We're always going to have social systems that paint on us picture of the kind of bodies we're supposed to be having, the kind of lives we're supposed to be having. So in a lot of these are basically life is pretty hectic and stressful. And if you're saying if all of this is there, I cannot do mindfulness, then really there's no point of doing this, right? This whole exercise. So let's try and do mindfulness, 4-day mindfulness session. There is no point of it because the reality is these are the things that take us away. So what is the picture we're painting of mindfulness then? So when we say mindfulness is being in the present, I switched back to our first slide here. We're saying mindfulness is being in the present moment, it's non-judgment, it's acknowledging our emotions. We're saying all these gorgeous things about mindfulness, and then in the next page, we're saying that's never going to happen for us, right? So I'm wondering, what picture are we painting? Do we want to go back to the first slide and reassess then and add more language to what is mindfulness? Are we really saying mindfulness is going to be hard because, well, life is always going to be in our faces? And are we saying that mindfulness is only practice for vacation time? For time when you, basically vacation time, or you've retired and you're sitting up in some retirement home? Is that what you're saying? Is that the only time you practice mindfulness then? Okay, so Lubanchi says it's a habit that can be cultivated consciously and purposely. Okay, lovely. So I'm just going to go back to our first slide and add some of these things here. A habit that can be cultivated consciously and purposely, a daily lifelong practice. Lovely. So daily lifelong practice. You know, just yesterday I was watching a wonderful, I will send it to you guys if you're interested. It's on YouTube. It's on polyvagal theory. It's this wonderful um, um, senior therapist within the polyvagal theories approach. You know, what she was saying was um, the the way that our context, right, our surroundings, our environment, our world impacts us, that definitely changes the neurobiology of the brain, right? If there is a bully outside, right, on the outside, you have a class bully, or you have someone who really impacts you, an abuser in your life, the way that that impacts your brain is the same way that if you had, you can impact yourself, right? So what that means is that um, not only does the environment affect us, our own relationship with ourselves affects us also in the same way, right? So if I've had abuse happen to me in my life at some point, and I am harsh to myself in my everyday life, it is essentially the same impact. It's going to lead you, it lights up the same parts of the brain that lead you to feeling depression, anxiety, and all sorts of mental illnesses. So this thing that one of you have said from this large group that's sitting here, this thing about a daily lifelong practice, every day we are practicing in something, right? Every day we are practicing in listening to our distractions. Every day we're practicing in staying with a very capitalistic world that says competition means you get full marks. Competition means you get ahead of another person. Um, it says something about what women should do, right? Women of 20, I don't know what it is in your social context, 25, let's say. At the age of 25, women should get married. At the age of 27, they should have children. At the age of 30, they should be sort of serving everybody in their homes. And then at the age of, I don't know, 60, 80, die, right? So our world is telling us that there is a certain life trajectory that we should meet, and we're constantly practicing in meeting those trajectories. We're practicing in patriarchy, we are practicing in capitalism, we're practicing in what the world says we should be doing. And so when you think about it, I moved into the second slide, this overthinking, over analyzing, distraction, impatience, all of this is a very cultivated practice, right? And so when we say, no, I am going to cultivate this practice, of being carried away, Because, I mean, of course, you have so many years of practice in being carried away that you might as well sort of continue. That's the nature of habits. But I love what Lubanshi just messaged, and one of you from the class also. It's a habit that can be cultivated consciously and purposefully, right? It's a daily, lifelong practice. And just as the habit of overthinking comes so easily to us because we've been using it for so long, the habit of mindfulness also can become that simple. But what it requires is what you guys just wrote here, right? A daily, lifelong practice. It's not a practice in perfection. Then it wouldn't have been called perfection, right? I mean, it wouldn't have been called practice. Practice because you keep coming back to it, right? So if we were to sort of readjust the definition or add on to the definition that you have given, we are not saying mindfulness is only for when I'm feeling very relaxed. When you're feeling very relaxed, you don't need mindfulness. You're already mindful, right? It is when shit hits the fan that we might want to practice something other than mindlessness, other than overthinking, other than distraction. Would you agree with me? Can I get a yes or no? Can I get any thoughts, any questions at this point? Okay. Thank you, Larita. You agree with me. All right. So I'm assuming everybody agrees because Larita has agreed. All right. Okay, cool. All right. So one of the things that takes us away, one of the biggest things that takes us away, I mean, all of these things, right? Whatever you have given me on this slide of what takes us away, too many thoughts in our head takes us away, overanalyzing takes us away, mental health issues takes us away, distractions takes us away, being judgmental, having a busy schedule, mindlessness, being forced to do things also takes you away from mindfulness, unhealthy relationships, just carried away by material or surface thoughts. These are wonderful things that you have thought about that tell you what it is that takes me away. Now, I'll tell you the simple way to pack all of this is actually called autopilot. It is the autopilot, essentially, that takes us away, right? I'm going to add things like capitalism and patriarchy, right? Heteronormativity. Heteronormative, TIVE, timelines. Heteronormative, cis heteronormative timelines. You know what that means? Cis is being affirming the gender that you were assigned at birth. Heteronormative is being straight, right? So being the gender that you were assigned and being straight has some timelines, right? As a man, as a woman, what you're supposed to do throughout your life is already decided for you. These kinds of things also are called autopilot, right? So what comes in the way really are autopilots. All sorts of autopilot comes in the way and takes you away from being present. And what I'm saying is that these autopilots are, I mean, sometimes we need them, right? Like if I have to get up and be extremely mindful of how I'm feeling, right? And honor it because my body is feeling extremely tired. I'm not going to get up and write my exam today. That's not going to work, right? Because we do live in a construct that expects that we complete things at a certain timeline, we finish, and we subscribe to these constructs, and we do need to finish some things at some time. So we push and we keep doing, and we sort of autopilot into things that make us do things. And so not always our autopilot's a bad thing, but it can. Any thoughts on when the autopilot can become extremely unhelpful? I'd like some chat messages for as answers. I like that. Misogyny and violence. Thank you for that. Oh, why is it not writing? All right, 1 second. Oh, right, okay. Misogyny, violence. These are all autopilots. So my question was, when is autopilot? I mean, so I'm saying, listen, autopilots are okay to have. Sometimes they are quite helpful, right? When you were, you probably were told you have to come to class today by hook or by crook, and you don't want to come, but you dragged your ass and came to class, right? That autopilot was, I don't know, useful because here you are talking to me, right? When does the autopilot become unhelpful? Are we saying autopilot is always good? Are we saying misogyny and patriarchy are always good? When these autopilots increase to an extent that they feel overwhelming, that's beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Lobanshi. So they're sorry. I pasted somewhere else. So these autopilots are unhelpful when they take over. It's a good one. When they increase to an extent that they feel overwhelming, or when they cause distress, when we don't know, somebody had already written, when we are unable to think of our purpose, then it is not useful. When it has taken over in a way that we're not able to really think about who I am, but that kind of dissociation, autopilots are not helpful, right? And what are we saying of mindfulness? We're saying, well, we've practiced so much in an autopilot way of living that actually working on mindfulness, quite honestly, like think about it, right? Like in the face of patriarchy, in the face of absolute violence, can you actually be present and non-judgmental and meditative and with complete presence and awareness? I'm not so sure it's entirely possible. Perhaps during that time you actually do need a very assertive, firm response, which also comes from mindfulness. So quite honestly, mindfulness is also assertiveness, right? Assertiveness that is grounded in the reality of what is happening for me, right? Just because there is violence and I have practiced mindfulness, I'm not going to be like, okay, slap me on the other cheek also. And I'm not going to be Gandhi just because I practice mindfulness, right? But what we're saying is mindfulness allows something that the autopilot doesn't allow. So it can also be assertiveness, right? Mindfulness can also be, like standing up for yourself and creating boundaries. Those are also possibilities that can happen when mindfulness is welcomed intentionally in our lives, right? You wrote about breaking unhealthy patterns right here, right? When I asked y'all, what is the impact of why should I practice mindfulness? You folks gave me this, right? You said, well, it helps me build a better relationship. It helps me feel peaceful. It helps me break unhealthy patterns, right? And I'm saying the same thing here, right? Breaking unhealthy patterns doesn't come by being kind in the face of violence, that it maybe comes from a place of assertiveness, and perhaps mindfulness offers that as well, right? Because what we are doing is, here's the key piece, okay? What we are going to be doing in the 8-week program, or I mean, in 8-week programs typically, but in our 4-day class to this week, and what we are also teaching our clients is this: it is about creating all these things you said mindfulness is towards oneself and one's own experiences. That's what we're saying is mindfulness. first towards oneself, right? This program is called Mindfulness Based Symptom Management, right? And what are we saying is the symptom? We are saying the symptom is all the autopilots of the world, right? It can be patriarchy, it can be, I don't know, violence, it can be cis heteronormativity, it can be just being busy, having to follow deadlines, it can be any of these things in the autopilot. And when I say that I'm building mindfulness, and we're saying mindfulness based symptom management, it's about managing the symptoms that show up because of these things inside of me. What shows up inside of me is distractions. What shows up inside of me is pain. And how do I bring mindfulness to these things? That's what this program is about, right? So, folks, give me 1 second. 1 second. All right. I'm sorry. My kids, you can see them in the background. Um, all right. So I'm supposed to write in between now. Okay. Mindfulness. Mindfulness, as we're going to learn today, has several components to it. The three main aspects that we'll keep coming back to in these 4 days together is intention, attention, and stance. These are the three most important pieces or frame that I'm going to introduce to you that you are going to keep coming back to in order to practice mindfulness, right? And whatever mindfulness is for you, it can be being in the present moment, it can be learning to be assertive, all of those things, right? Being in the present moment non-judgmentally is a beautiful definition, right? The way to cultivate it is through this frame of intention, attention, and stance. Now, if you take a look at what you have said, right? Each of these, this is the first slide that I put together with you all, right? When I asked you what is mindfulness, you said, being in the present moment. You said purposefulness, non-judgment. If you just take these three words, right? Purposefulness is an intention, right? I want to be purposeful, right? That is an intention. So I'm showing you three aspects of mindfulness, right? Purposefulness is an intention. So being present is attention. So where is your attention? It is purposefully in the present moment. And then how am I being present non-judgmentally, which is called the stance. Stance means attitude, right? So you see, just in these three words, we have able to put what intention, attention, and stance is, right? So if you pick any word, you will find it. So with kindness is what? It is a stance, right? Stance is attitude. What attitude should I bring? I want to bring kindness, right? Body sensation awareness. What is that? It is an attention, right? What am I attending to? Body sensation, right? Present is also attention. Living in the moment, right? Living in the moment can be both intention and attention, right? Actually, it's an intention. Living in the moment is an intention. Where am I paying attention to live in the moment? Is attention. So in order to live in the moment, I can pay attention to the water I just drank, to the presentation that I'm doing. I can pay attention to the light in front of me, right? Any of those things. can be a practice of living in the moment. So living in the moment is an intention, right? So like that, so what I'm trying to say is all of your definitions of mindfulness can sit within the frame of mindfulness as being a practice of setting an intention to pay attention, right? With a certain stance, right? So I can pay attention to something with an open stance, or I can pay attention to something with a closed stance, right? So there are different ways in which we can typically pay attention. And these ways are push, pull, confusion, or cold, right? Push meaning, I don't want this. I'm too bored right now. I don't want to listen to her anymore. That is a push stance. I don't want to listen to her anymore. I want to go to my bed and go to sleep. That's a pull towards the bed. I'm pushing something and I'm pulling something towards me, right? Or confusion. What is he saying? I can't understand anything. That is confusion, right? Or you might be curious today. C for curious for coal, C for curious. You might be curious. You might feel open to what I'm saying. You might feel like you're accepting this information that is coming. L is loving kindness, right? Kind attention, right? That's loving kindness. COAL. So we can have one of these stances at any given moment. 1 second, folks. My kid wants to talk to me. Bye, darling. All right. Okay, folks. So three aspects: intention, attention, stance. There are different kinds of stance we can apply in our everyday life towards everything that we are doing, right? And none of them is right or wrong. Just because curiosity seems nice to you doesn't mean curiosity is always a nice thing, right? Just because openness seems like very heart opening and so nice doesn't mean it's the only nice thing. Confusion might be a good thing. Wait, I'm so confused, she needs to explain better, and then you will feel open maybe. So I'm not saying push, pull, confusion are bad things and coal is a good thing. I'm saying these are all possible when we are paying attention intentionally to something. Okay, what we need to cultivate is asking ourselves, is this stance working for me in this present moment? Okay. In order for me to cultivate the intention that I said I wanted to set, this kind of attention of pushing things away. So here you go, right? Like an example. Tenmari ma'am said, I have to be present here. I also applied for this master's program. Fine, I'll go. COVID has made us not study at all in person. Maybe this is an opportunity, I'll go. So you had a little bit of a push pull when you were coming to class, right? And then you said, okay, fine, something we're going to learn, mindfulness, let's pay attention to the class. And you're listening to me, you're listening to me. But then slowly you're starting to feel like, okay, this is not helping me, not working. You're starting to push, right? Like the stance is push. Now, does the push stance work for your intention of being present to learn something? Well, it doesn't, but it works for the other intention of keeping myself physically comfortable, right? Fine. If you're pushing towards this class because you don't want to hear anymore, you want to go home, rest because you have a period pain or something like that. What do you want to honor at this point? And taking that intention to honor any of your most important intentions at that moment is the practice of mindfulness, right? Mindfulness is not some shiny little object that you start using and you start fixing yourself. It is, like Lubanshi said and somebody from the big group said, a very cultivated practice. There is no other way, unfortunately, because our brains are wired in ways that create habit when we keep practicing, right? So there's this famous neurobiological statement, right? Neurons that wire together. Wait, neurons that fire together, wire together. That's just the way your brain works. So what habit you're creating is the habit that you will start living in. right? Okay, so there are these three aspects of mindfulness: intention, attention, and stance. Stance can be in all of these forms. It is for you to decide, is this working for me or not? My stance of push may not work for you, but it works for me. And it's up to me if I want to honor it or not, right? Honoring my stance, honoring my intention is my work of working towards mindfulness. All right. So that's a lot of talking at the moment. I'm just going to pause here to see if anybody has questions before we go into a short exercise. Questions?